Opinion poll conducted by Research World International. We did see the statistics yesterday. Of course, it takes center stage in yesterday's paper, the Daily Monitor, and the same is happening today. Now, only 30% of the respondents in this particular survey think that the country is on the right track. Now, 60% of Ugandans are not comfortable with the way the country is being run. Now, that is the conversation that we'll be having this morning. David.
Well, regarding political inflation, it is only the NRM where the feeling that the country is headed in the right direction is dominant. And we did see that headline yesterday in the Daily Monitor. This poll, according to Research World International, was conducted to gauge the opinions and perceptions of voting age Ugandans towards the social, economic and political climate in Uganda. So we asked this morning, is this a true reflection of the state of affairs in Uganda today? And of course we are joined by Mr. Siraja Chifampa to give us a bird's eye view of this development. And to start us off, let's bring back a story we ran in our news last night to put this more into perspective.
The opinion poll conducted between 12th and 25th April had 2,042 respondents in 60 districts. It reveals that 42% of the respondents backed Robert Kyagulanyi of the People Power outfit as the joint presidential candidate, while 24% want FTC's Dr. Kizza Besigye, 5% support DP President Norbert Mao, and yet 3% support Mugisha Muntu.
These are what I told you. These results are shocking, but again, that's the perception that was out there.
It also indicated that 60% say that the country is moving in the wrong direction, while 32% feel things are going okay.
For those of you who have studied social science support science, we project behaviors. Behaviors can change depending on circumstances. It could be as a result of nagging, it could be as a result of anything. And then you see people transforming into a different being.
As regards the presidential age limit removal, 65% of the respondents are not happy, 28% are okay with it, 4% do not know, and 3% could not comment on the matter. As for the MPs, according to the poll, 42% do not want to vote for their current parliamentary representatives, 33% support them, while 5% were afraid to air their views on the subject. 85% of the sample said they are ready to participate in the upcoming election. 9% are not ready, while 8% could not comment on the matter. Although Research World International maintained that their research is accurate, some political parties have raised concern. They feel it was not conducted properly and point out inaccuracies.
Opinion polls are done during an election cycle, not outside it. Because while, for example, Robert Kyagulanyi has declared that he will be interested in contesting, Dr. Besigye has not said he will contest. And while Kyagulanyi will not have a process to become a candidate, Dr. Besigye will be subjected to an FDC internal process.
I remember when we were going for the last general election, they came up with some findings that NRM is losing popularity. We are no longer popular. Our rating was, they were putting it at about 35%. And when we went for elections, we defeated our opponent.
They also accused the agency of being self-seeking, harboring an ulterior motive, and being biased.
It's not professional, it's very shallow, it's not credible, and NRM party will not take it.
The opinion polls can also help political organizations do internal evaluation. I don't think this one is in the league that you want to use to do an internal evaluation.
For this poll, the respondents were all above 18 years. Suhel Mugabe, NTV.
Well, that's taking a look at that story that we ran last night on NTV Tonight. And of course, this morning we have Mr. Siraja Chifampa joining us. Good morning. Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Karim. Good morning, our viewers. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, nice to have you here. Yes. You were supposed to be here with Ambassador Maiga, who is the PRO NRM. He should be here with you, battling our discussion today. But unfortunately, he couldn't be here this morning.
He's actually not the PRO of NRM. He's pro NRM.
NRM, sorry. Yes. These polls we have been seeing, we saw it yesterday in the Daily Monitor on the front pages. 30% of Ugandans think the country is going in the right direction. That's a very small percentage. 60% of Ugandans don't think the country is headed in the right direction. Today on the front pages, 50% don't want Museveni on the ballot box. In that story that we ran in the Daily Monitor, you have been seeing all that percentages. 42% for Bobi Wine, 85% are ready to participate in the coming elections 2021. Is this a true reflection of Ugandans and their thoughts on the state, on how the state is run and going forward? Is this a true reflection of Ugandans?
If this poll was held in 1995 or 1990 before, I can assure you that 90% of the Ugandans would say that the country is being run in the right direction. But around 30 years down the road, many Ugandans are thinking otherwise. The reasons are very simple. Ugandans are not bothered about the figures, but what matters for them is that, is the economy working for them? Are they feeling involved in the country? Do they feel that they have a stake in this country? So with regard to politics, do they feel that they are involved in the decision making of this country? So the answer is no, not at all. That's why you're seeing those figures that only 30% of Ugandans are saying that the country is moving in the right direction. That means that 70% of the rest of other Ugandans are feeling that the direction the country has taken is not the right direction that they would like to see their country heading. So the figures are very representative in that regard. However, what matters today is that many Ugandans are not happy with the way how things are being done. For example, I'll just give you a few examples. That a Ugandan is not bothered about a road that has been constructed when they do not have goods to transport on that road. I remember sometimes when I was still studying in Mbali, the Tirinyi Road, it was tarmac and it was very smooth, but by the size of the road, people were just drying their cassava. There were not trucks that are coming from there bringing merchandise or goods to Kampala or to the citizen, to the suburbs like in Uganda or other towns.
I've seen that on that road going to Zirowe.
So the roads can be there and people are just riding motorcycles and borders on those roads when the road is not actually making an economic sense.
But Mr. Chifampa, our country's economy is growing at a rate of 6% per annum. That's a great growth right there.
By the way, some figures can be manufactured? And people told that, because how many people are here to follow? Because what matters to a Ugandan is not how much the economy is growing. Does he feeling the growth in his pocket when he goes back home? Does he feel the growth? So the economists can be here and give you the statistics that we are growing, but look, who is benefiting? Let me give you this.
These are statistics that were released by the World Bank.
No problem. Let me give you these statistics. Look at the industrial parks that we're trying to create. How many Ugandans own these factories? How many Ugandans have got a stake? Ugandans have become slaves in their own country. How many Ugandans are moving out of this country to go to Middle East to be killed from there, and you're seeing caskets, corpses being brought back?
Are you saying there are no positives that have been brought about by the current government?
Of course, Ambassador Maiga would have been here to say the positives of what the NRM has done. But my concern is the statistics that are coming up. That look at the key performance indicators. One, go to the Ministry of Internal Affairs and see the lines, the long queues. People are lining up to get passports so that they can run out of this country. Why would people be running out of the country? Two, go to most of the betting houses and see how many youth very early in the morning that are lining up to the betting houses. Go to the gambling houses. Go to the pool tables and those ones that are playing those games. So that means how many youth do we see that whose lives have been destroyed as a result of taking alcohol and many other things because they do not have jobs? In a country where you have 78% of the population are youth. And out of the 78, 84% are unemployed. You cannot say that the economy is growing when most of Ugandans are just...
So what you're saying is that you approve of this particular report?
For sure.
We have your fellow, of course, pro-opposition bigwigs in the country who say that this particular report was a sham. Let me just sample a view coming from Mr. Osman Basalirwa, of course, the JEMA president. He says, I don't think this report is representing the minds of the people. They have said JEMA can only manage 0.10%. This cannot be true because we have a lot of support in the country than what they have quoted in this report. We dismiss it because we find it a joke. We also did see FDC coming out to say that this report, they're not going by it. So what's your view on this? I mean, people who you are pretty much in the same, how will I put it, club, are saying that this report is nothing to go by.
The person that you've read is my party president.
Of course.
Mr. Ahmad. What he says, he's very right. I'm not contradicting myself. What he was commenting about were the percentages that were published on Sunday in the Sunday Monitor, where they said that Bobi Wine has got 22%, President Museveni has got around 32%, Kano Kizza Besigye has got 13%, and Asumani Basari was rated as having 0.01% as JEMA, the support. So that is what he was dismissing. But with regard to the 30-70% of Ugandans that are saying that the country is not moving in the right direction is what I concur with. But with regard to the percentages of who is going to be president and whatever, that one is a discussion.
I asked this question earlier on where I said it seems like any result from this poll that doesn't side with your thoughts, you disagree with. But the other poll that agrees with your thoughts, you're okay with it. Is that the case? Is that the case when it comes to these polls? Because let's look at it. JEMA are not happy, FDC are not happy, DP are not happy, NRM are not happy. Where's people power? No one is complaining from the Bobi Wine camp, because look here, they have 42%. They are the leaders when it comes to opposition. They are the next in line, if we are to say President Yoweri Museveni #1 and then Bobi Wine #2. They seem satisfied. No one is complaining from that side. So is it a case of, well, this poll doesn't represent my thoughts, so I won't agree with it?
And it's healthy for someone to disagree. Secondly, when you talk of people power, you've mentioned the traditional political parties that are known. People power is just a pressure group, which is not a political party. And when you see Asman Basalirwa speaking on behalf of JEMA, when you see DP speaking on members of DP speaking, you know people power has spoken as well. Because majority of the people who are in people power are either DP, are either JEMA, so and the sort. So my point of contention was the percentage that was assigned to President Museveni on the Sunday Monitor. But with these statistics, I'm very okay with the statistics of 30% of Ugandans feel that the country is headed for the right direction, and 70% are saying it's not headed for the right direction. That one I'm okay with it. But my disagreement was in the other day, Sunday Monitor. The other thing is the 42%. Even the 42%, I do not for Bobi Wine. I think Bobi Wine is more than that, because when you look around, we have a youthful population, very many youth around, and when you see Bobi Wine identifying himself with the youth, you get to know that he's more than that, because I think Bobi Wine could be around 60 and above.
Now,
that's your personal thing.
That's my personal
Mr. Chifampa,
yes.
Mr. Chifampa, 42% for Bobi Wine is, of course, him topping the opinion, if at all, the opposition camp chooses to form a coalition and, you know, face it off with the current president, His Excellency Kaguta Museveni. Now, question comes through, and questions are coming through as well, still on social media. People are asking, these are the responses that we're getting, of course, from the opposition parties, then saying that the report has not represented us well enough. They're not accurate. The report does not represent the truth of the influence that we have as a party. So someone would ask, then what are the chances of the opposition ever forming a coalition come 2021 to work together and give us one candidate who will go head to head with the president? If you're seeing them trying to say, this one is mine, that one is mine, this one didn't represent me right, are there chances that you're going to see that?
I've said this time and again that it will never come a time when you will see a single opposition candidate on the ballot paper versus President Museveni. Because
it will never
come a time.
Even with this information whereby they say if opposition comes together and they give Bobi Wine the flag bearership, they have 42% already?
Even with that, because Mr. Museveni can even sponsor other opposition candidates to be on that ballot paper. That I can assure you. Secondly, I'm very optimistic that the leading opposition figures will one day sit together and form a coalition or agree on a united front where they will field one candidate. Just of recent, Bobi Wine was arrested and released. We saw the Kanokiza Besje, we saw the Nambozes, the Lord Mayor, and you know the President General Mao is in the DP bloc, Asmani Basaliro, and many others. The only person whom I think is not in that opposition bloc, that is UPC, and we are not most likely to see a UPC presidential candidate on the ballot paper. So the other ones whom we feel they're almost close to one another, they can easily come together. But the issue of people coming and presenting themselves as opposition candidates on the ballot paper, that's what I'm saying, that President Museveni will have a Chalia there, we'll have a Biraro there, we'll have an I don't know. So other names one can add. But with regard to coming up with a united force, I'm very optimistic that one time that will come to pass.
You still haven't answered these polls that we are seeing, these results. 90%, according to the report, to the research, 90% of those interviewed had national IDs. This is a good sign. And out of that 90%, 84 are ready for 2021. And they say 42% are for Bobi Wine. Does this give the opposition some vigor going into the 2021 elections?
For Bobi Wine, if they front him as a joint candidate, the flag bearer of opposition.
Now, when you see...
Does this also put more pressure on other political parties to front this guy that seems to be getting this percentage?
Let me give you this. DP, it's very clear that DP will not support President General Norbert Mao to stand for presidency. It's very clear. In the DP bloc, I was at Africana. I heard what they said, and I'm listening from the circles of DP. So that means that
who will they support?
They will support Bobi Wine, no doubt about that.
All right.
Now, when you come to FDC,
the question will be: is DP as a party willing to let that happen? Because he is the president. What is a party without a president?
Let me finish this point.
Go on.
That DP. Majority of the DP members are in for Bobi Wine.
Okay.
When you look at Jema, they are also supporting Bobi Wine. The only party that has stuck to its guns is FDC.
Right.
When we talk of the opposition, the main opposition, and FDC, there is a discussion within the FDC. There are some people are saying that at least Kanokiza Besje has stood for 4 times.
Yes.
And they don't think that he can stand again. So, what do they look at? They cannot forward Honorable Nadama Fabi, they cannot forward the party president Oboy, Patrick Amaria Oboy. So, they are looking at a coalition with Bobi Wine, but they need to first agree. Sit down and have some kind of agreements being made or memorandums signed. So, I'm very optimistic that opposition parties will one day sit down, because when you look at the energy, the way how Bobi Wine has energized the politics of this country, the shortest period of time he has been in the political limelight. So I think that come 2021, he will be a force to reckon with, because most youth are very ready. They are, like you stated, that 84% of Ugandans are ready to participate in the 2021 elections. And who brings them to the ballot paper? I guess Bobi Wine is the person who is bringing them.
You know, we did host the vice president of FDC, Madam Salam Musumba. And we asked her a question, FDC being, and we mentioned opposition, and she said that FDC is not an opposition party. And of course, as we've been monitoring the turn of events, of course, in the political scene, someone would ask, then if FDC is not a opposition party and they have, I think, the biggest clout of following, even, you know, it's the biggest, you know, pretty much party in the opposition side, then what does that make them?
Now, one, from Madame Salam Musumba's point of view, they have what they call the People's Government. I think you've heard of it.
Yes.
Where they have Kanokiza Besigye and the cabinet that he appointed, and even they have the People's Assembly. So for them, they feel they are not in opposition because they have already formed their own government, though it is not the official government. Two, the issue of having the biggest following or the big, you can have supporters, but having members is also different. When you go to the books of FDC and ask for how many FDC members do they have, how many people have bought FDC cards, you cannot find the biggest number. But when it comes to the ballot paper and people voting, it is quite different. People might support someone who belongs to the FDC by then when FDC had the wave. Now, come 2021, you will see most people will vote people who are aligned to people power, because it is the wave that will be the wave of the time.
What are the chances of FDC supporting Bobi Wine then? If we have even, you know, Mr. Semujungana saying that he totally disagrees with this particular, you know, poll, you know, that says that, you know, Bobi Wine already has 42%, if at all he's presented as the joint opposition flag bearer come 2021.
I can say it is a 50-50. I cannot say that FDC will automatically support Bobi Wine, come and rally behind Bobi Wine. But like I said, I'm very optimistic that FDC will come on the negotiation table, and I'm very optimistic that this time around they will not run out of the negotiation table like it happened in 2016 when we saw in the TDA when people came and stormed the meeting and pulled out Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Siraj,
yes.
These opinion polls, do they really matter? Because let's put aside the question of whether it is representing people's sentiments. But we have seen opinion polls misleading. We have seen that with the American election, where every single poll showed that Donald Trump had no chance to beat Hillary Clinton to the Oval House. Well, flip side, it all happened the other way around. Do opinion polls really matter?
By the way, in the Western world, the opinion polls do matter a lot. I followed the American election. Clinton won the election, the popular vote, with over 3 million voters. And they have a different system of electoral colleges, where Donald Trump won the electoral college vote and Clinton won the popular vote. But in Africa, where elections are easily manipulated, where you have the president having more powers as a candidate, an incumbent, and he can manipulate the election in his favor, like he's the one in charge of the electoral commission, in charge of the army, in charge of the police, in charge of the Bank of Uganda, and all institutions of government, he's the one in charge of them. So these opinion polls might not matter come 2021 or come to an election period, because the incumbent still has a lot of government. However, what I'm saying is that most we've been seeing President Museveni is declared a winner, and you cannot find any city, any suburb, any town center. We've been around, and they can say, I wish the Ambassador Mayiga would be here. He would tell us that in 2016, people of a certain particular area celebrated the victory of President Museveni. So you wonder, when people vote for you, why?
Mr. Chikampa, as we come to a close, someone once said that opinion polls are a blessing for the election. We'll maximize on these results, on this particular report, to re-strategize.
Maximizing the elections. I'll give you a few. We had polling stations where did not have polling agents for the leading opposition candidates. So opposition should look at having 100% coverage of the entire country in terms of representation at the polling station. 2, atavistic, and opposition should look for the other thing is that how do we ensure that votes are things that they're supposed to focus on to, and see how they get prepared for 2021.
For us, the Ugandans, the ordinary Ugandans, should we take these polls serious? Should we see them on the front pages in our local dailies and just read them as they are and move on? Should we take them very serious?
Of course, we should.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much. Mr. Siraje Chifampa joining us this morning on our Kickstarter conversation, analyzing the opinion poll on perception of Ugandans on the political situation in the country. We have been seeing these headlines for the past 3 days since Sunday. We are seeing headlines. Today we have another one on the Daily Monitor where 50% of Ugandans don't want Museveni on the ballot, an opinion poll result that I have a feeling Mr. Siraje agrees with.
No, it should be more than 50%.
There we go. You can have your say. Social media, hashtag is Morning at NTV across all social media platforms. Have your say, come in, and we'll be getting into some of those comments as we go on with the show. But that's it for our Kickstarter conversation. Mr. Siraje, thank you very much for joining us. And
thank you for having me.
Have a blessed day, and Ramadan Kareem again.
Thank you so much.
Data Blaster bundles from Airtel. Get more data to chat,